So, hey guys, it's Angela again. I have tried so many freaking times to upload a video about my life story, so I really fucking hope this one works because it's really starting to piss me off. Okay, anyway, so here goes nothing. So, I was born March 3rd, 1988 in Oakland, California. So yeah, I was there for the huge 1989 earthquake, but I was only 1 year old at the time, so obviously I don't remember it. Anyway, so I had like a traumatic birth is what I've been told, which I guess contributes to chronic pain, that you can get chronic pain from like having a traumatic birth. Because I had to be sucked out. I was like, I'm not coming out, not happening. So I have like a huge dent in the back of my head because of that, and I guess that somehow affected the rest of my body years later. Anyway, chiropractor could be wrong. He is kind of... But anyway. Okay, so... Okay, sorry, it's taking me forever to try to remember shit. So, okay, so my mom stopped working when she was about 6 months pregnant with me. So she's been a stay-at-home mom ever since then. My dad worked, he's retired now, for Chevron. And he's from Argentina. I look absolutely nothing like him, obviously, because I'm extremely white, have like freckles, and yeah. Anyway, so my dad came here from Argentina, so I worked for Chevron, selling technology to Central and South America, which none of my family actually knows what that means, and really didn't know what he did as a job, which is kind of funny. But how my parents met, basically, was he didn't speak a word of English. You know, he came here, you know, I think on like a work visa or something, and it was gonna run out, so my parents were like, hey, let's get married so you can stay in the country. Such a romantic story, right? But anyway, my dad worked for Chevron, and he went on a lot of business trips. He probably, sorry, if I add it all up, he was probably here for about a total of like 3 months out of the year. And when he was here, all he did was come home and watch TV till he fell asleep, because he was so stressed out. His work was very stressful. He ended up getting kidney cancer from the stress of work when I was around like 7 or 8. I was too young to understand what was going on. And I have a younger brother. He's 2.5 years younger than me. So we didn't know what was going on, which is a good thing, because, yeah, it's not really something you want to lay on your kid, like such heavy shit. All I remember from that is that we put a TV in his room where he slept so that he could recover from surgery. And he was like recovering for like 2 months, and the only thing I remember about that whole thing is my mom would be like, don't bother your dad, don't bother your dad, he's recovering, he's resting, he needs to rest right now. Yeah, but yeah, so my dad wasn't there a lot when I was a kid, and actually because he was gone so much, and because when he was here, he wasn't really here, I only started knowing who he is in the last couple of years, and same with him, that he's just started figuring out kind of who I am and who my brother is too. So I never really knew my dad, even though I had a dad. It's not like he was an absent father or anything. He was just on business trips a lot. So my grandpa, my mom's dad, took care of us a lot. My mom's from Indiana, so that's where he lived. He passed away when I was 19, unfortunately. He was definitely one of the most important people in my life. And it was really hard for me when he died. But anyway, so he was there, and he came and visited maybe like 4 or 5 times like a year for like a couple of months at a time. So he was my father. He was basically my dad. Yeah, he was basically my dad, so it was really hard for me when he passed. So anyway, going to 4th grade, it became evident to one of my teachers, my one teacher, that I had a lot of anxiety issues because I would pull out my hair in class. Sorry, I look like crap right now. I would pull out my hair in class, and I guess there'd be like a huge hairball like right next to my desk, like at the end of every day. I had no idea I was doing that at all whatsoever. But I guess, my teacher told my mom, and we got diagnosed as trichotillomania, which is the compulsive needing to pull out hair from anywhere on the body that hair is. I only pull from my head, and one reason that I'm shaved over here is because I have like this OCD with my part, like the part of my hair. Sorry. It needs to be like perfect, and it needs to be like even and straight and all that stuff. So that's why I did that, so I wouldn't pull. Also in 4th grade, and trichotillomania, OCD, are kind of like cousins. They're not the same thing. But basically, that's how my anxiety manifested, was through that. So I started being really anxious at a young age. I don't really know why. And also in 4th grade, I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, which I will make a video about because there are a lot of misconceptions about it, and it's really annoying sometimes to deal with it, and all the misconceptions, etc. And my brother also has it. I have it definitely worse than he does. It's a genetic neurological disorder, so I didn't pick it up. I was just born with a shitty brain. I really was though. Okay, and then I went through puberty, and when I went through puberty, I basically skyrocketed to 5'7", which is my current height, when I was in 5th or 6th grade. I was 5'7", I was the tallest in my class, and then everyone else started growing, and I was no longer the tallest in my class. And I gained some weight as well from puberty, and in Argentinian culture and a lot of Hispanic culture, they are very anti-fat. It's a big culture clash kind of thing, where if I'm somewhere with my dad and we went to the beach, a year ago or something. I remember this so clearly because I was like, God, that there was this lady, and she was in a bikini that was a little too small. I mean, she was definitely a large lady. You usually don't see them, larger people on the beach just in a bikini, a cover-up or something. Anyway, I thought it was awesome. I was like, you go, girl, that's fucking great, dude. Awesome. Respect. But, of course, my dad had to make a comment. I was like, oh gosh, she's so fat. Why isn't she wearing only that? Blah, 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 blah. So, I got a lot of that when I gained weight in puberty. When I was around 12-ish. Yeah, he would call me fat. He'd be like, oh, go and exercise, or, oh, are you sure you want to eat that, blah, 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 blah. So I started getting disordered eating at the age of around 12. but I wasn't officially diagnosed with an eating disorder until I was 15. But until, like, from 12 to 15, I was basically disordered eating. Like, I wasn't really losing or gaining any weight. I just had, it was all in my head. Like, I had, like, the eating disorder mindset. But not so much the restricting and the purging and stuff. Anyway, so I went into 6th grade, and my now ex-best friend that I fucking hate now, we were inseparable since kindergarten. So when we went to 6th grade, we were the only ones that had these rolling backpacks. And I don't know if you guys remember rolling backpacks. It was basically like luggage, you know, that you go to the airport with. And no other kids had them except for us. So we got bullied a lot. A lot. Like, especially by this one guy that we called Pineapple Head. Because he had, you know, the frosted tips, you know. I'm totally aging myself. So he would, like, you know, kick our backpacks and just be like, blah, 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 loser, blah, whatever. And I have always had, like, anger problems, and I'm really not sure why. So I would fight back. I would be like, fuck you, don't fucking do that. Like, how would you feel if I fucking kicked your backpack? I would be like, get the fuck away from us. I was an angry person. So I was bullied, and at the same time, I fought back. But because of all the bullying, I missed a lot of school. I would have my mom come and pick me up, like, constantly. So in 7th grade, me and my now ex-best friend, we started going to Waldorf school. If you don't know what Waldorf schools are, you should look it up, because it's hard to explain. It's basically a super hippie school. It was a small school. It was a private school. So I was there for 7th and 8th grade, and I really liked it. It was really good. For 9th grade, I decided I wanted to go back into the public school system. So I did. Okay, trigger warning before I say this. When I was 15, you know, like my first year at high school, I went to a party with my friends, like a house party, and this guy sexually assaulted me. He was about 10 years older than me, at least 10 years older than me. He was like in his like mid to late 20s, and I was 15, and that was my first sexual experience that I had ever had, which was just wonderful. And I didn't tell anybody about it, except for my friends. And the reason I didn't tell anybody is because when I did tell my friends, like when we left that house party, what had happened, they called me a whore. So I immediately thought that it was all my fault, and I didn't tell anybody for a while. I kind of kept that to myself, because I was like, oh, I guess I'm a whore, you know, it was my fault, you know, all my fault, which in reality, you know, it's not. Everyone tells you, no, it's not your fault when you get raped or whatever, because it's not. I mean, you can put yourself in situations that are less than optimal, like I did, you know, like being a 15-year-old drunk off my ass with a bunch of, like, 20-year-olds. Like, who's not gonna take advantage of that situation? But anyway, that's just how I say it in my mind, you know. And I never really realized how much that affected me until probably a couple of years ago, actually, because right after that, I actually I smoked weed for the first time. After the second time I smoked weed, my mom knew, and she started drug testing me, which really sucked. And I got my first boyfriend, and I did meth with him one time. Did not know that it was meth. No idea. Just was like, I'm down for anything, I don't care. And my mom found out about that, and I was basically grounded for an entire year. Like, I went to school, came back home. That was it. Yeah, and then also around that time I started cutting. And then I started restricting heavily, and I lost about 20-30 pounds. And so I was under the BMI of like 18 or whatever that you have to be at to be considered anorexic. So I was diagnosed with anorexia, 15, self-harm, 15, depression, anxiety. Oh god, what else do we got? Sorry. I'm sick right now. But, let's see. And then, yeah, and I started doing drugs and stuff too, around 15 as well. I think there was like one more thing. Anyway, I'll think about it later. But anyway, so then after like that year of being grounded, my parents were kind of like, whatever, she seems to be doing all right. I was hanging out with a better group of friends, etc. But they didn't know that the group of friends, my new group of friends that were like better, you know, that they still smoked pot and drank and stuff. So after that year of being grounded, that's what I did, is I smoked pot all the time. I drank a lot. And when I was 17, halfway through my 11th grade year, I got really depressed, really bad, and I would just be like, Mom, I can't get out of bed, I can't do anything, I can't do it, I can't. So I ended up dropping out of high school at 17, which I really regret to this day. And at the time, I was also getting into a lot more drugs and stuff. I was, smoking weed a lot, which I'm pretty sure really perpetuated my depression, which is why I don't do it anymore. Anyway, yeah, so I started going to like raves at 17. I only went to like 10 or so. It wasn't like really my thing, but it was fun. I mean, yeah, like 17, 18, I had tried like ecstasy, I had done coke, I had done meth, I had done weed, I had done ketamine, I had done acid, I had done shrooms. I had done a lot of things, and yeah, and so let's see. And also 17 is when I had my first visit to the psych ward. And if you watched Jasmine's video, she said when she went that she really liked it. Same for me. It was the same for me when I was 17, because I was put in with the other teenagers. And it was fun. It was actually really fun. So I came out a lot better than when I went in. I've been to the psych ward probably around 10 or 20 times. That was the only time when I was a minor. All the other times are when I was an adult, and it sucked. It sucks. I hate adult psych wards. Oh my freaking god. But anyway, so I also started working around 17, 18. I would do seasonal jobs, and mostly, and then I had my and then my grandpa passed away when I was 19, and I started doing a lot of coke then, and that's when I had my second sexual assault. I decided that I wanted to have the college experience with dorms and everything like that. But I didn't have a diploma or GED or SAT scores or anything like that, because I didn't take them. So I looked into community colleges that had dorms, and there was one in Reading. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll go to the one in Reading. By the way, Reading is a shithole. No offense, but offense. Hate Reading. So I went there and to go to school, but I just ended up just doing a lot of coke with my roommate at the time, and then I met this guy who was also living in dorms, and we basically became like boyfriend girlfriend. The strange thing was that like some days he would be like, yeah, hey babe, how you doing, blah 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 blah, let's hang out, I love you. And then other days, like, I would text him and be like, hey, what are you doing later? And he'd be like, why? You know, like he didn't even, like, he was like, who the fuck is this bitch? You know? It was really strange. It was really odd. But he ended up physically abusing me, verbally abusing me, and then sexually abusing me for the last week that I was there, because I left because I couldn't deal with him anymore, and the roommate as well, who was a horrible person. And yeah, for that last week, he basically forced himself on me about it every day, and then like after we he did what he did, you know, when he was done, when he was finished or whatever, he would make fun of how I did whatever sexual act it was. So that wasn't fun. Yeah, so that was my second sexual assault. So anyway, so then I came back home and I decided to get a job. So I worked for H&M, which is a clothing store, and it's a really good place to work for, by the way. Yeah, definitely give that a place a thumbs up. I worked there for a year, and then I stopped going because my depression got really, really bad again. And so I was basically fired because I just stopped going to work. And I hated that because I loved working. I was just so effing depressed, and that was like the main reason that then I decided that I wanted to try meth again, because I loved doing coke, but it was very expensive and it does not last long for me at all. And meth is the opposite. So when I was 20, turning 21, is when I did that with my friend, and we would go on like 2-3 day binges like every week for maybe about 6 months. And then my mom kind of freaked out and was like, you need to go somewhere, you need to go to a treatment center, blah, blah, blah. She didn't actually know what I was doing. She thought that I was drinking, like going out and drinking a lot because I had just turned 21, you know. But, yeah, so she didn't really know what was going on, but she was basically like, you're bipolar, you're this, you're that, you need help. So I went to my first treatment center when I was 21. Let's see, I went to McLean Hospital within Boston. Best treatment center I've been to. So awesome. I had so much fun there. And I learned a lot. It was a DBT program. I was there for 4 weeks, I think. Unfortunately, in that time, one day, my roommate over there tried to kill herself. And that was really hard. But, you know, she came back and she was like really sorry and everything. But anyway, I really liked that place. And so, but my therapist there was like, told my mom that I should definitely go to some place after that place. So I went to another place after that place. I'm not going to really say the names of all the places because I don't really remember. I've been to nine different treatment centers from age 21 to 27. Yay! So I went to my second place. Well, I actually did it. I wasn't like against it. And so I went there and I hated it. I fucking hated it. And that's where my restricting came back. And I dropped down to my lowest weight, which there were no scales, but I'm guessing was around 105, 110, and I'm 5'7", so that's pretty little. And I was just obsessed with it because I hated being there so much, and nobody wanted to be my friend. Like, there were like already formed cliques, so it was just, it sucked. I hated it, and so that's all I focused on. So then I told my mom that basically, you know, I was like, I hate it here. So I went back home. Sorry. And then I I tried to get my own place. I'll kind of make this part a little shorter. So from like, 21 till 27, I've had my own place, but then I've always fucked it up. When I was at McLean Treatment Center, they diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder, which I will also talk about. And my mom became obsessed with it, very codependent, very obsessed with my diagnoses. And so she forced me into treatment centers because she put me on disability without me knowing. And I really still hate her a lot for that because I haven't had a job since I was 20 because I've been on disability and going to treatment center after treatment center and then coming back home and trying, anyway, it was really crappy. And let's see, and then when I was about 22, 23, I had my third sexual assault. It was on Halloween. I've not had many good Halloweens, so I'm pretty excited about this one, which is tomorrow. I'm gonna go hang out with my girl, go to a club. You know how we do. Yeah. So, and then I think a year and a half ago was my last sexual assault. I've had 4 in my life. 4. That one was probably the worst for me because I have not been able to have sex since, and with the other ones, I had no problem. It was just like, okay, this shit happened, this sucked, like, let me just like bury that down as much as I can, and just, I'm good. But at this time, it's not how it happened, unfortunately. But basically, so, yeah, and I've had a lot of psych trip visits in that time. I actually just came back from my last treatment place. It was in Michigan. I got back maybe like 2 months ago. I'm horrible at time and stuff, and anyway, so I live with my parents again. My mom is in charge of my disability money because she did that on purpose so that she could blackmail me into going to treatment centers. Yeah, I should make just a video just about my mom because it's just, she is, I can't even. Anyway, so I'm back living with my parents. I tried really hard to get a job this retail season and I didn't get one. I don't have a car anymore. I crashed my car when I was about 24. I was 24. It was actually a suicide attempt. I was prescribed Xanax at the time, and I took 2 instead of 1, and it made me fall asleep at the wheel, and I knew that's what it was going to do. So I would crash into somebody or something, and that's how I would die. I've had several suicide attempts. Slit my wrist before. You can't see it because there's a lot of bracelets on there. I overdosed before. One time, when my mom was forcing me to go to this one treatment center, which I fucking hated it there. We drove there. It was in Tucson, Arizona. And I tried rolling out of the car one time when we were going over there because I was being blackmailed and shit, and I did not want to go. I was being forced to go. It was not my idea. It's my mom again. And then also we got like a hotel for the night because we couldn't just do a straight shot because that's just a lot of driving. And I tried to climb over the railing of the hotel that we were at. Yeah, let's see. I've also I stabbed myself in the stomach one time trying to hit an organ that I could puncture, kind of like Elliot Smith style. So yeah, I've dealt with a lot of shit in my life. I've been through a lot of verbal abuse. I've been through a lot of sexual abuse. I've been through a lot of even physical abuse without my one boyfriend. Yeah, it's been quite a life, and I don't. This is not how I wanted my life to turn out at all. I'm depressed. I'm anxious all the time. I I do my best. I do my best. But anyway, that is basically my life story. I will be doing like videos for each kind of diagnosis that I have, so I can like kind of like tell you guys about like what I'm going through with that, like how to, you know, deal with stuff like that, and you know, just explain things too. So this, oh God. So this is my life story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys later. Peace out, Girl Scout.